Okay. How are y'all doing? Okay, that's great. None of us ever sound on. That's good.
Very good.
Oh, perfect. Okay. Let's get this rolling here. Okay, just let everyone in. Okay, we should be all here. Sorry, one more guy coming in. And we should be good to go. Okay, so we're going to start off today with a with hopefully be somewhat of a quickish sugya, and that's a topic. It's a very, very general topic called a Tנאי, making a Tנאי in order to be mekayim a mitzvah. She'll explain what that means as we go along, and as always, we're going to start by jumping into one of the inyanim relating to Sefiras HaOmer. I'm going to try to pull up the paper here also, and here we go, and we can go from there. Once again, getting you back on the screen, and okay, gewaldig. Okay, so okay, hold on one second. My bad. Okay, that's going to be removed, I think, and then we are going to be good. Okay, perfecto. So we got like this. The Machaber brings. I'm just going to read inside an actual Mishnah Berurah itself, and then we can go. The Machaber brings down in Siman Pei Tes the following in a very, very basic halacha. First, that hamispalel im atzibrim bi ba'od yom. A person is davening with a shul, and they're davening while it's still day. We're going to see what that means in a second. Mona imahim below bracha. You would count Sefira when they get up to the Sefira part during Ma'ariv. You count Sefira that a bracha. Im yizkor b'laylo yavarich v'yisper. And if you remember at night, when I counted before in shul was a little too early, so you should count again. Okay? Make a bracha and you count. You make the bracha and you count again at nighttime. The Ramah is filo ana amen al birkas hakol. Even if you answer amen to the bracha. Even if you answer amen to the bracha that the tzibur had made, he can still, if assuming he didn't have das to be yotze with that bracha, he can still make the bracha again and count over at nighttime. Okay, so Mechaber discussed a system here. Wherein the shul is davening quote unquote early, whatever exactly early means. You would count without a bracha. At nighttime, if you remember, you make the bracha and you count. And of course, that expression in the Shulchan Aruch, if you remember at night, you make the bracha and count, is a little interesting, right? Because you would have thought that there's like a miman of shach. If it's the right time to count when you're counting during the day, so like count during the day and that's it. If it's not the right time, then you're chayiv to count again at nighttime. But yet here the Machaber definitely tells us in the Shulchan Aruch that if you remember at night, you count again. If you remember, sounding like there's room to be a little bit relaxed perhaps and say that if I don't remember, it's not the end of the world. and so on and so forth. So let's take a look what exactly this halacha is referring to. So the Mishnah Berurah quotes over here, they're davening me ba'od yom. So it says the Mishnah Berurah, you have it on again on my screen in front of you, on notes where the Chavetz Chaim writes, Yesh me'achronim shepirshu dahainu bein hashmashos to safek lightly. Quotes over here, Magen Avram, and the Taz, etc. There's a whole series of achronim who say that this is speaking about a case where it's already bein hashmashos. And anyway, as we learned a couple of days ago, Sefiras HaOmer is very probably, at least the way the Mechaber Paskins, is only midrabanan. And if it's bein hashmashos and it's a suffix yom, suffix laila, and since we're dealing with a drabanan, you can be makel about that suffix. So you count then, and you know that probably could be okay. Achenim, who wrote to the dactic, well, this from canal, but he wants to be a medactic, like we were discussing the other day. He wants to be careful to count after the actual zman. He wants to remember to count after the tzeis hakochavim. So what does he do? Kamar Machaber, the Shulchan Aruch says, "Dehu yimna imahem pen yishkach acharkach." He should count along with them, lest he forget to count. But listen carefully now what the Mishnah Berurah says, and now we're quoting a Magen Avram. Yachshol b'daita, when he counts during the bein hashmashos time, after shkia, before it says, during bein hashmashos, when he counts, then he has in mind the following thing: Im eskar acharkach v'layla limnos einani rotze lotzes b'sfirazu. If I remember to count later on, I davka don't want to be yotze with the sfira that I'm counting now. Okay? And therefore, if he does recall later on at nighttime, oh, you know what? I had in mind before that if I remember when it's 100% for sure this man, I don't want to be yotze now. So he in effect was able to uproot his mitzvah that he did beforehand, because he made the mitzvah al tנאי on the condition I don't remember. If I remember later, his man after it says, I don't want this to be the sfira. So now that he remembered, he's in a situation where effectively he hasn't really counted the Sefiras HaOmer yet, because he was oker, he uprooted his kiyum of the mitzvah. So now we can count again with a bracha bizman. That's the pshat that the Chavetz Chaim brings down over here. Okay, now so what basically happens is the following. Now we're going to give just a little quick introduction to this psak of the Magen Avram before we start to discuss some of the issues that are involved over here relatively quickly. The Mefarshim here on the Shulchan Aruch, the Machzis HaShekel, and on the bottom of the page of the Shulchan Aruch brings down that this Magen Avram, if you look in the Magen Avram himself, there's an allusion to this, is basing himself on the concept of on the old machlokas, classic machlokas, whether or not we pass him mitzvos srichos kavana or ein srichos kavana, and on the assumption that the person has the ability, the person has the ability to not be mekayim a mitzvah if he didn't have the proper type of kavana, he might be able to be yotze with this strange combination of counting later on and not relying on what he did first. But if we would say that mitzvahs are lo tzrichos kavana and he counted sfiros, and then probably, of course, he was already yotze when he did the thing around in the first time. That's some beginner discussion like that. Most understand the Magen Avram. This is a pashut pshat in the Magen Avram, that the Magen Avram here is being mechadesh to us a chiddush about how to understand this psak in the Shulchan Aruch. Now, I'm going to warn you that there is a Taz over here who does not seem to agree with this Magen Avram, but the Magen Avram's pshat is at least over here in the Mishnah Berurah is what's quoted. So we're going to work with that as a pshat in the Shulchan Aruch, and that is that they're telling us a very important chiddush over here, which is that a person has the ability to be mekayim a mitzvah, what we call it al tנאי. I'm going to do the action right now. We've learned about tנאיim over the past year different times. I'm going to make it tנאי right now. And the condition, the stipulation that I'm going to make is if the way I'm doing the mitzvah now would work, if that's okay, I don't mind being yotze now. But if the way I'm doing the mitzvah right now is not so great, and if I have the opportunity to do it better later on, I would prefer to be Yotze the mitzvah later. And the big chiddush that this Magen Avram is presenting to us is that Tanai that you make on the mitzvah is so effective, right, so strong, and is so real, right, so solid, that in this example, when I do remember at nighttime after the Tzeis HaKochavim that it's the more the Chatchilas man right now, and I didn't want to be Yosef from before, I can even go now and make a bracha on the sphere, even though I already counted sphere again. And you might have thought, what do you mean? But you counted Ben Hashmashal, stuff like Derban Lakula. You already Yotze then B'di'evet. If he didn't remember later on, he for sure would have been Yotze with the sphere that he did earlier. You would be able to count the next night with a bracha without any question whatsoever, right? So what exactly gives him the ability to recount the sphere a second time that night and make a bracha on that second sphere? Not just counting again the chumrah, but he's making a bracha on that. So that once again is the major chiddush and contribution of the Magen Avram on this halacha that tells us, there's a concept called making a mitzvah al Tanai, and you have the ability before you do a mitzvah, okay, to add or introduce whatever kinds of Tanayim, whatever kinds of stipulations and rules that you want to govern your kiyum of the mitzvah, right? Which is what's happening here. If this is this man, greater on my being Yotze. If later on is the better man, and I remember to do it later, I don't want this to work. I only want the other thing to work later on, and that is good to go. There's Rabbi Kiva Eger. It's in Mem Vav. So Mem Vav. Did you learn Mem Vav this year in Mishabura Seder? Where'd you start from this year? Okay, as always, no response. But you got to work on that whole unmuting yourself thing. The over there in the beginning of Sim Mem Vav, the Shulchan Aruch is speaking about the dinim of Birkas HaShachar and all the introductory parts of the davening. And it mentioned over there that there's a part of davening, we don't officially say it in yeshiva, which is maybe why I don't remember it, but there's a part of davening, la'olam yeheldam yirei shamayim, but something, I haven't said this in over 2 decades, but something, 30 years, something maybe plus, something about Seiser B'galui, Ashreinu Matov Chalket, a song we know from Simply Tzvat, Ashreinu Matov Chalkeinu, Ma'anoim Goraleinu, Ma'yaf Yerushaseinu, and we say the word Mashkimim, Erev Avoker, or something like that. I'm making up the words right now, and we say Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad. Okay, hopefully that rings familiar to some of you. If not, you can go check inside a siddur. And we say Shema Yisrael, and we say Baruch Shem. Now, and there's a discussion, if you look in the tour, the Beis Yosef, why exactly we say that part, during the davening. But one thing that is brought there in the basics there in the Shulchan Aruch and the Ramah is that it's preferable, instead of just saying that we get up in the morning, we say Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, that we add the line Baruch Shem Kvod Malchuso the Olam Vayed. Meaning, even though it sounds like when you read the siddur that we're not really saying Kriya Shema, we're just sort of discussing the big schus that we have to say Kriya Shema every single morning, but we're certainly not trying to do the Kriya Shema right now. As an example, right, when we say Kedusha, again, like we mentioned yesterday, that ancient practice that many of us might recall from months back, when we say Kedusha on Shabbos, and we say on Musaf time on Shabbos, and there's the line about Shema Yisrael Hashem Elokeinu Hashem Echad, right, and we say Hu Elokeinu, Hu Avinu, so you'll notice very, very, very clearly, and we most definitely do not say Baruch Shem Kvod Malchuso the Olam Vayed during the Kedusha. Why not? Because we know we're not saying Kriya Shema. All we're doing is just telling a story about this chus that we have as Jews to say the Shema. But yet here in the morning, in the Birkas HaShachar part, we davka add the line Baruch Shem. Now, if you look in this Rabbi Kiva Ego that you have in front of you now, so the Magen Avram makes a comment that says, right, because what we really want you to do over here is just in case the shul is going to be davening a little bit too late, or maybe let's make a better scenario. They daven really, really, really slow, and it takes a really long time to get up to Kriya Shema, and maybe they're going to miss the Zman. So at least right now you said Shema Yisrael and Baruch Shem, they go together. You can't be Yotze the Kriya Shema that, and you have your basics of the Kriya Shema. Okay? Reb Chaim Brisker was makbid that you would have to say V'yahavta also during that part. And he recommended if you do say that part of the davening, like in a non-yeshiva setting, you should say if you have to also because of the din that the Gemara has in Megillah of Kol Parsha do Paske Moshe Anon Lo Paskina. If there's a parsha in Chumash, we're not allowed to just say one pasuk. You have to say the whole parsha when you're reading a parsha in the Torah. But you want to do the base. If you take a look there in the Mishnah Berurah, he says, if I'm really concerned about Kriya Shema, then I should probably say at least the first two paragraphs, even more L'Chatchila the third, etc. Right? If I think I might miss if you're worried about missing the Zman, okay. Rabbi Akiva Eiger comes along on that halach. And take a look there in the Shulchan Aruch and the Mishnah Berurah and Siman Mem Vav. The Mishnah Berurah you want to see Sivkat and Lamed Aleph in particular. But Rabbi Akiva Eiger in the Hagos Rabbi Akiva Eiger and Shulchan Aruch over there writes something very, very different. I'm going to read this one inside with you. A very, very important chiddush Rabbi Akiva Eiger says over here. Le'anius daiti b'yarish atzibur yavru zman kriya shema. If you in fact really are worried that the shul is going to miss the zman, yechavin b'derech Tnai. When you say kriya shema now, you're supposed to have a Tnai in your mind, a condition. Im yavru, if you're going to miss the time. I want to be Yotzei now. Lo Yavrun, if you're not going to miss the time of the Kriya Shema, Lo Yotze Bezeh. I don't want to be Yotzei with what I'm doing right now. Kamosha Kasu Beis Yosef Siman Tov Peites La'inyan Samach Ayin. Famous Rashi tables for Sefiras HaOmer. Says Rabbi Akiva Eiger, we learn from our din in Siman Tov Peites, where the Machaber, the way the Magen Avram explains the Machaber, you can make a Tanai to be Yotzei the mitzvah Sefiras HaOmer. If it's good now, I want to be Yotzei now. If I can remember later, I'd rather be Yotzei later. Says Rabbi Akiva Eiger, Eureka, I have the best solution for this whole Kriya Shema business if you're davening early. The way the Machaber says it is you say Kriya Shema, right, just in case, and then you'll daven like regular, and you'll say the Kriya Shema later. If you made the time, great. If not, not. Rabbi Akiva Eiger says, I have a much better solution. Now let's explain the issue that Rabbi Akiva Eiger doesn't say he's addressing, but he definitely is addressing, which is that we know that the Rabbanon were masaking that you're supposed to say Birkos Kriya Shema. Okay? We also all know, because you've heard it from me, one of the Tefillah Shiurim, it's like everyone at least heard this once, no matter what year you're in, that the Tshuvas HaRashba is quoted by the Kesef Mishnah, who says that we always have to make sure to say Kriya Shema with the brachos. In order to be Mekayim the mitzvah properly, it has to be Kriya Shema with the brachos. And it's never a good idea to ever separate the Kriya Shema from the brachos. That's why Reb Chaim Paskin, Reb Chaim Brisker Paskin, that if the shul is going to run late, and you're worried, don't say Kriya Shema beforehand, before the shul. Either you should daven at home, be yechidos, right? And daven everything before you go to shul, including the Shemona Esrei, in order that you should have the Kriya Shema with the brachos, because Kriya Shema and the brachos before and after are always supposed to go together. So Rabbi Akiva Eiger was bothered here. If you do what it says in the Shulchan Aruch right now, the way they're presenting it, you're going to say Kriya Shema. It sounds like if you're worried, you're supposed to be thinking, oh, maybe this is Kriya Shema. So you say, again, here's where the whole machlok, only the first pasuk, you say the first parasha, two parashas, three parashas, but you say the Kriya Shema early. Okay? And if the shul makes this man, but okay, but I Lamais already said Kriya Shema from beforehand. Rabbi Akiva Eiger says, why would I do that? Don't put yourself in a situation where you're going to do the mitzvah of Kriya Shema wrong by having the Kriya Shema being done without the brachos. You have a much better solution. Say Kriya Shema al Tanai. If they're going to miss this man, so at least I'm going to say the Kriya Shema now. But if we're going to make this man, I don't want to be Yotzei now because it's not really right to do the Kriya Shema without the brachos. I want to only be Yotzei later on with the brachos as well. A Tanai. How do I know you can make a condition and govern, am I Yotzei the mitzvah? Am I not Yotzei the mitzvah? Says Rabbi Akiva Eiger. That's what we learn from this din in Sefiras HaOmer. That there's a concept that you're allowed to make a Tanai that governs whether or not you're going to be Mekayim the mitzvah at all. That's why sometimes, let's say, there's another example where this would come up, and then we'll get into some of the discussions here. Let's say you have a person, a Ben Torah, even better, a Hasidish Ben Torah, who knows that Hasidim certainly, Paskin, when it comes to Zman Kriya Shema, there's a famous joke you make about Hasidim. The Zman Kriya Shema that they miss is the Zman of the Magen Avram, the earlier Zman Kriya Shema. That was the psak of the Shulchan Aruch Harav, that the correct Zman is the early Zman, not the one that's popularly printed in the calendars, what we call the Zman of the Gra, that's a surprising why the Hasidim don't hold like that. They pass like it's brought the Magen Avram, was also a Dayan in Vilna, but there was the older opinion that the Zman Kriyash was in fact the earlier Zman, like the more Machmir Zman that's printed in the calendars that you all might have. And the truth is, the Mishnah Berurah in more than one place paskins that we're lechatchila supposed to try to say the Kriya Shema before this man of the Magen Avram. The Brisker Rav, just to make it clear, the Brisker Rav argued on that. He felt that 100% lechatchila, this man is like the Gra, and one does not have to be machmir to say the Kriya Shema before. The Brisker Rav himself was not makbid about it, except for the Yasser Semei Tshuva. But during the rest of the year, he would say the Kriya Shema lechatchila right before the Gra's man. I was not makbid on the Magen Avram. And nevertheless, many B'nai Torah follow like it says in the Mishnah Berurah, unless you're a real diehard, Brisker. And people want to be choshesh for the Magen Avram, but not everyone always davens at a minyan that davens so early that they make the Magen Avram zman. Okay, so what sometimes people do is before they go to shul, they'll say Kriya Shema with a Tanai, right, by itself. If the shul is not going to make this man, you really want to be yotze with the brachos because that's the right thing to do, right? So you pull one of the moves like this Rabbi Kiva Eger. I know again. And you want to be like the Reb Chaim that you're not going to daven at a minute that davens after the Zman Kriya Shema. They're going to for sure make this man of the Gra in the shul that you guys are all davening at, or the minute that you're all going to go to. But now you want to be a little bit frummer and say, but Lamais, like there is the Magen Avram sheet. The Mishnah Berurah says the Chatchila, you should paskin. You should try to do like that. So people will lane Kriya Shema before they go to shul al tonight. If we're going to make this man with the shul later on, I want to be yotze then. If not, I'll be yotze now, even though it doesn't have the brachos. But if the Iker's man is like the Magen Avram, so at least I did like that. And if the Iker's man is like the Gra, I don't want this Kriya Shema to work. I want to be to use the Kriya Shema I'm going to say later on in shul along with the brachos. That's an example of where this idea of a Tanai on your mitzvah is going to come up. Now, you also remember if you're like the rest of Klal Yisrael that you just a couple of weeks ago passed through the Yom Tov of Pesach, you remember another famous Tanai that you can make on a mitzvah. Right? What was that Tanai? The famous Avnei Nezer. Right? Did you do your Yishrei Pesach book every day? What was the Tanai of the Avnei Nezer? Someone want to volunteer? Unmute yourself and someone say.
About the Afikomen?
There you go. Now you can mute. Good enough. Okay. Coming off the pillow once again. The Tanai, the famous Avnei Nezer about the Afikomen, right? Where you're running close to Chatzos. The Iker mitzvah of matzah is the Afikomen. In fact, that's the one you have to be mechaving, the Shem mitzvah on. And but your lechatchila is supposed to eat before chatzos and machlokas and rishonim. So Sefiras HaOmer, you eat the afikomen with a Tanai. And we're not going to go through the whole Tanai what it's based on that he's discussing what that enables you to do. But you eat the afikomen al Tanai, right? Now, another example. We're going to now talk a little bit about the sugya of this idea of making doing a mitzvah al Tanai, and is that effective or not? So you see on our Makoma sheet an entry over here from the Oneg Yom Tov. And the Oneg Yom Tov here brings a very, very classic discussion. Sorry, I just lost it. I'm just going to raise it higher on the screen. Okay. Now, some of you might remember a Masechta called Ktubis. And in that ever so esoteric tractate in Shas, so there's a Gemara in Daf Ayin Daled. And the Gemara has a comment. The Gemara says that Milsa de Lesa B'Shlichos Lesa B'Tanai. Something that you're not able to do through a shliach, meaning you can't send someone else to do in your stead. The Gemara makes this equation. Excuse me, I'm sorry. The Gemara makes an equation. A milsa de lesa b'shlichos lesa b'tanai. Something that you can't send a shliach to do on your behalf. You're also not able to make a condition on, to make a tanai on, to govern whether or not that particular action is going to be chal or not. Okay. So one example that's discussed in the Gemara and the Rishonim, that you're not allowed to have a shaliach do a chalitza for you. Okay, the chalitza has to be done between the yavam and the yavama themselves. Whatever the reason, doesn't matter right now. But you can't have somebody go in your stead to perform a chalitza. So the Rishonim point out there on that Gemara there in Ksubas. Again, you all remember this, right? That's why the Gemara says that you can't make a Tanai on a chalitza. You can't have a Tanai that says if this, the chalitza works, if not, not. Why can't you make a Tanai when you do a chalitza? Because a milsa de lesa b'shlichos lesa bit Tanai. Okay, let's remember back to the very, very beginning of Masechet Ksubas and from the Beis and Gimel. Right? Can I make a Tanai on the chalos of a get? Just shake your head, don't have to unmute. Shake your head up or down. Can you make a Tanai when a person is delivering a get? Yes, right? Now, those are also yesh onus or ain onus, but you can certainly make a Tanai when you give a get. Why? So the equation that we're making over here, right, is that, of course, because we know that the Gemara tells us very clearly that you can send a shliach to deliver the get on your behalf, or the isha can send a shliach kabbalah to receive the get on her behalf. So, okay, if gittin is something that can be done through a shliach, you're also able to make it tonight. The get is only valid under these conditions, and if those conditions aren't met, the get is not going to be valid. Right? We know that the Mishnah Daf Mem Aleph in the beginning of the second parak in Masechta Kiddushin tells us that Ish Makadesh Bo Uvishlucha, a person can send a shliach to perform a kiddushin on his behalf. So it's also no wonder that the Gemara is, the Mishnah is, the Gemara is both Masechta Kiddushin, Masechta Gin, are replete with examples of Tanayim that you make on a kiddushin. You can for sure make a marriage al Tanai, right? A matter of fact, that according to many of the Rishonim, think back to Ksubas Dav Gimel, what was the whole din of Kodem Makadesh, Adaita, the Rabbanan Makadesh, based on, according to Tosas and the Ritva, that you're making a Tanai. The kiddushin is al Tanai, that the Chazal would want this kiddushin to work, and if not, then the whole kiddushin is batal. And according to some Rishonim, that was the basis for the idea of kaz kiddushin. Why does a Tanai work by kiddushin? Because kiddushin can be done by a shaliach. Milsa de isa b'shlichos, isa b'tanai, milsa de lesa b'shlichos, lesa b'tanai. Explains the Oneg Yom Tov the following very important yesod. What's the equation? It's not just a magic formula. Shlichos means you can make a Tanai, and no shlichos means you can make a Tanai. The Oneg Yom Tov is masbir, a very, very basic yesod. Explains the Oneg Yom Tov as follows. Something that I'm able to send a shliach on my behalf to do means that I'm basically in control over, I'm in charge, or the learning talk is I'm the bailim over that particular maisa. I could do it myself. I can send you to do it. I have options, right? The way I want it to be done, that's the way it's able to be done. And if I want it to be done like this, I'll do it myself. I want him to do it. He can do it. When I find something that I have to do myself, and I don't have the option of sending a shliach to do, the Oneg Yom Tov is masbir. That shows me that particular action is deemed by the Torah as something that's not in your control. This is not up to you to do in the slightest bit, and that's not your action that's performing that particular inyan or that particular mitzvah. Okay? And therefore the Oneg Yom Tov says that something that you're not able to send a shliach to do, that the Torah demands you have to do by yourself, because you're not in charge of that particular act over here. So you also don't have the authority to make any tanai on that particular action either. Again, you can read through the wording of the Oneg Yom Tov yourself if you want, but that's more or less the basic idea of the idea. If it's, am I able to appoint a shliach to do the action, that shows that my ratzon, my wants and my desires are relevant to this particular act. And if I'm not able to make a shliach, so then that shows that my ritzanos are not relevant over here. The way I would want this to be done is not important and doesn't mean anything in the eyes of the halacha. V'lachein, that tonight is going to be irrelevant also. And therefore, in the underlying part on the sheet, you notice like the Oneg Yom Tov here says something very, very basic, where the Oneg Yom Tov tain is as follows. So, well, I got a lot on the sheet. I didn't realize that. The Oneg Yom Tov tain is, with that understanding, now he says, I'm going to argue on all of these achronim. I mean, he was an achron himself. He lived in Brisk, the Oneg Yom Tov. The Oneg Yom Tov says, I'm going to argue on all the achronim who say that you're allowed to make a tanai when you're performing a mitzvah, and I think they're wrong. Why? says the Oneg Yom Tov like this: many mitzvahs in the Torah, you're not able to have a shliach do on your behalf, right? If the Torah says you have to say Kriya Shema, like we discussed yesterday, why that's true, right? You have to say, no one can say Kriya Shema for me. I have to do it by myself. No one is allowed to shake a lulav and an esrog for me. I have to pick it up my hands and shake it on my own, and I can't have somebody else do that. Says the Oneg Yom Tov, so any mitzvah that I'm not able to make a shliach to do for me, right? So according to the klal in the Gemara, at least the way the Oneg Yom Tov understands the klal, you also would not be able to make a shliach to go and do that particular mitzvah anymore. It's out of your control. You're not the bailim over that action. You just have to follow what Hashem wants, but it's not up to you to make any of the call, any of the shots, or to make up any of the rules over here. So mainly you can't make it tonight. And therefore the Oneg Yom Tov says the entire concept of making a Tanai on your mitzvah is totally not acceptable. That's the major classic famous argument of the Oneg Yom Tov. Now, which sounds like a pretty good point. Milsa de less of a shlichus, less of a Tanai. So why should I be able to make a Tanai on a mitzvah? The only problem is that there are a number of little discrepancies in halacha, where we seem to see that the halacha definitely allows you to make a Tanai, even though this is a big machlokas. Many do follow the opinion of the Oneg Yom Tov, and there are many other achronim. Other achronim, we're not going to really get into this discussion so much today. Maybe we won't, but maybe not. Whether or not this is talui in the idea of breira. I don't know if you've experienced that sugya before of ein breira or yesh breira, but midaraisa we follow a rule called ein breira. And some say you can't have an action that's done that you're only going to know later on whether or not you are mekayim that mitzvah. Midaraisa, we say that ein breira, you can't first later determine what the status of a particular act was. But let's look at very quickly some of the other classic examples where we find a Tanai. So first of all, we have a psak in the Shulchan Aruch itself. The Mechaber brings down on Siman Lamed Daled, again over here on the sheet on the screen. He's discussing the concept of wearing the tefillin of Rabbeinu Tam, right, where the parashas are ordered slightly differently than the tefillin of Rashi that we all wear. And the Mechaber brings down a din of Yerei Shamayim Yetze Yedei Shneiim. A Yerei Shamayim should try to be Yotze both of the opinions, the classic Rashi, the classic Rabbeinu Tam. You should have two pairs of tefillin, and you should put them both on at the same time. Again, you have to look through all the halachas there in Siman Lamed Daled. And you have in mind the following thing. The tefillin that are made properly, I don't know if it's Rashi or Rabbeinu Tam, whichever one of these two pairs of tefillin that I'm wearing is the right one, I want to be Yotze. And the other thing that I'm wearing is just taking my blood pressure. I have another pair of wraps of leather bands going around my arm. That's fine. I don't mind. I can wear funky leather things. Why not? Again, at school they told me frum Jews don't wear bracelets and all like that. But okay, fine. A half an hour every morning I'm going to put on a bracelet. Also, whichever is tefillin, whichever is the right one, that's what I want to be yotze with. The other one, it's like I'm not doing it. The reason why you have to make a Tanai like that is because there's an issue of baltosif. You can't be doing things that aren't a mitzvah. So the pair of tefillin that's not the right pair, you can't just randomly put on and say, hey, maybe this is tefillin, because if you're having in mind to be yotze and it's the wrong way of making tefillin, so then you could end up with an issue of baltosif. Again, you have to look over there. There's a couple of sifrim in Shulchan Aruch about what one would do with the tefillin of Rashi and Rabbeinu Tam. Not exactly. Very good question about the tcheles. Not exactly true, because by the tcheles, you're allowed to wear multicolored strings anyway. So what those people are arguing is that despite the fact that the halacha, the strings have to match the beged, you are yotze b'di'eved anyway if they're different colors. So if I want to have red strings and yellow strings and green strings and white strings, l'maisa I'm yotze b'di'eved like that anyway, right? So some people will say, so I'll just, I'll put on a pair of tzitzis and one of my strings is going to be blue, and if it's tchel, it's great. If it's not, it doesn't really matter. Right? So it's not tchel, it's just a blue string. I can tie-dye my strings blue also if I wanted, also be yotze like that. So you don't lose anything, so to speak, according to that argument, except for the fact that you be mekayim the mitzvah tzitzis on a b'di'eved level, if it's not tchelis. But that's a different discussion. Okay, now you do seem to see when the mechaber brings down that you have the ability to cancel a mitzvah if it's this way. I want to be yotze, and if not, I don't want to be yotze. So that's what do you call it? So that's raised as a question. There's another psak that the Chavetz Chaim gives in the Mishnah Berurah in Hilchos Chol HaMoed. So again, it's in Hilchos Tefillin, but it's relevant to Tefillin on Chol HaMoed. So if you remember back here in Eretz Yisrael, the minhag is that we don't wear Tefillin on Chol HaMoed, but in Chutz La'aretz you have various practices. Again, it's machlokas in the Rishonim. Are you chayiv to Tefillin on a Chol HaMoed? And the different places in the world, follow different piskei halacha, but they're all based on sugyos. We're not going to go through the whole sugya in the Gemara and the Rishonim right about Tefillin on Chol HaMoed. The Mishnah Berurah brings down that kodem hanach, if you do wear Tefillin on Chol HaMoed, you want to make it tonight. Before you put your Tefillin on, you say, if I'm chayiv to wear Tefillin today, I want to do a mitzvah. And if not, then I'm not doing a mitzvah. I'm not wearing Tefillin. So he says that way what you gain is, according to the Shita in the Rishonim that says that you're not supposed to wear Tefillin on Chol HaMoed, I'm not wearing Tefillin on Chol HaMoed. Again, I'm wearing a primitive kind of blood pressure thing, but I'm not doing Tefillin right now, and that avoids the problem like we mentioned a second ago, Bal Tosif. If I'm not chayiv in that mitzvah today, I shouldn't be doing it. If this is not a time to do Tefillin, if you remember from Sanhedrin, if you remember learning Sanhedrin last year, there's an issue of wearing tefillin. That's if you wear tefillin on Shabbos, it might be a violation of Bal Tosif because you're not chayiv in tefillin on Shabbos. You remember there from the Sugyos and Bal Tosif. So the Mishnah Berurah came up with an interesting Einfeld, an interesting chiddush that was here. One of these where he says, so put the tefillin on Chol HaMoed on with it tonight. If I'm chayiv, I want to do a mitzvah, and if not, I'm not wearing tefillin right now. This is just some random straps, that I'm wearing, and that would cover your base. So again, the Chavetz Chaim there definitely does seem to champion the idea that you can make it tonight to be mekayim mitzvah, not like the Oneg Yom Tov. The problem is there's a stira between different places in the Mishnah Berurah, because in Siman Mem Vav in the Shulchan Aruch, where that was a siman about Kriya Shema, when it discusses doing the Kriya Shema as part of the Olam Yehei Adam, the Ashreinu Matov Chalkeinu, the Mishnah Berurah there, Davka does not quote Rabbi Kiva Eger's idea about saying Kriya Shema with a Tanai in order to be to cover your bases. And it's not clear why the Chavetz Chaim doesn't quote that, because it sounds like a very, very good idea. If you believe in the idea of a Kriya Shema with a Tanai, that you can make it tonight, not like the Oneg Yom Tov, rather like the Rabbi Kiva Eger. So then the Mishnah Berurah should have quoted that idea, because that really is the better way of doing it. By not quoting that, the Mishnah Berurah seems to imply, the Mishnah Berurah seems to imply that you davka can't make it tonight, and that's why he doesn't give that as an option in terms of what to do if you're worried about the Kriya Shema being missed. So that's a little bit of a tzarech iyun on the Mishnah Berurah. Now, just to run through some of the other ideas behind this sugya, I want to reference you to a sefer called the Piskei Tshuva. It's a very, very basic sefer that's based around the Mishnah Berurah, written by a Rav in the Ramat Shlomo area here in Yerushalayim, which many of you have gone to. Did he speak to you on the Ramat Shlomo Shabbaton that you went to this year? I think so, right?
Yeah, he did.
Okay, so now you can actually learn something that he wrote. So he brings in the Piskei Tshuvos here. This is found in Siman Mem Vav in the Din of Kriya Shema. He brings Rabbi Kiva Eger while making the Kriya Shema tonight, and then he brings down just the first paragraph there. He says that some are question the whole idea of a Tanai, whether or not you can do that because of the issue of Breira that we mentioned before, maybe Sfir, which is only the Rabbanon, Bizman Hazeh, maybe we're more makel about, but on a mitzvah d'oraisa, you won't have the option of making it Tanai. Hashem wants you to do the mitzvah yourself. You can't make it Tanai again with that issue that we spoke about before. But many of the Achronim do agree with that chiddush of Rabbi Kiva Eger, that you're allowed to perform a mitzvah al Tanai. But one of the discussions that's there is that, again, and just to back up, l'chatchil, always try, in theory, if you could avoid the issue, right? and just do the mitzvahs like straight up without a Tanai. So then Yotze according to everybody. But in Lamaisa, there is this Rabbi Kiva Eger. Most people are going to rely on that Rabbi Kiva Eger. People do that when they were Tefillin Cholamoid. People do that for the Magid of Ramazman, for Kriya Shema that we mentioned before. Then we come into a very interesting discussion about this idea of making a Tanai. How strong the rule of a Tanai actually is over here. We're going to just do 2 minutes, and then we'll sum things up. Rabbi Kiva Eger seems to imply when he presents his idea, if you read the words, that he gives you an example of something that's called a Tanai Kafel. You also learned about this year, double Tanai, right? And there's a whole series of things called the Mishpatei Tanai. You have to follow the rules of how to make a Tanai, right? Remember the Mishpatei Tanai. You have to have what's called a Tanai Kafel, right? If this, then that, and if not, then that. You have to spell out both options. You have to have the Tehain Kodem Lalav, the positive part, come before the negative, and the Tanai Kodem Lamaisa. You have to say the condition before the result that's there. So, for example, Rabbi Kiva Eger, when he presents the idea, says you do the following thing. If we're going to be Yotze, if we're not going to be Yotze later, I want to be Yotze now. Meaning this should work now. If we are going to be Yotze later, I would want to be Yotze the Kriya Shema later on with the brachos, right? But you have to spell out both sides of the coin. There's a famous Chazon Ish who says that he thinks that that's not true. Chazon Ish felt that the whole concept of needing all the dinim of how to make a proper halachic tanai are only relevant when dealing with it at a deal between two people, right? And there's a whole sugya in the Rishonim. Again, we're not going to discuss about different types of tanaim, almanas or a tanai of im. Many of you remember all those things. Again, some of the Rishonim quoted over here when they were discussing tanai in Gittin. The Chazon Ish rather felt when you're making a tanai that just between you and HaKadosh Baruch Hu, bein Adam l'makom, so there you don't have to follow all those technical details about how to make the tanaim. It's sufficient it's sufficient to come along and say that listen, if this man is now, then great. Then if I'm Yotze like now, I want to be Yotze, and if not, I'm fine. But you don't have to go through all the rules of the Mishpatei Tanayim that are there. It's interesting in the Siddur Agra, in the dinim of Kriya Shema, it's quoted in the name of Risol Salanter that one davka should make a Tanai Kafel. So if you are going to perform a mitzvah with a Tanai, many are davka not somech on that Chazon Ish, and they would go out of the way to make a Tanai Kafel and to follow all the regular rules of a Tanai. There are a lot of different answers that Achronim give to defend the Rabbi Kiva Eger against the very good kasha of the Oneg Yom Tov. That whole rule, milsa the less of a shlichus, less of a Tanai. So some of the Achronim point out that it's true. The Gemara has a rule, milsa the less of a shlichus, less of a Tanai. If you can't appoint a shliach, you can't make it Tanai. But that might only be true when you're dealing with maisim, and even according to the svar of the Oneg Yom Tov. If I can't control that act, then I wouldn't have the right to make a Tanai on that act. I can't send the shliach, so I can't make a Tanai. I can't make my own personal stipulation. I'm not in charge. But many of the Achronim argue when you're dealing with something that exists only in the realm of speech, where you're not really talking about an action per se. So many claim that whole equation is not really true. It's not a maisa that I'm doing, that I'm the bailam of. So I can determine if I want to be yotze or not. That's only really helpful when it comes to Kriya Shema. That wouldn't help when it comes to tefillin al tonight. So there's a lot of different discussions that we'd have to look into to try to get to the full bottom of what the story with the mitzvah al tonight is. But these are some of the classic, basic ma'amakomas and issues involved with whether or not I have the ability to make my kiyum of a mitzvah dependent on the fulfillment of various conditions that I might place, whether it's in terms of zmanim, in terms of chiyuvim, and so on and so on and so forth. So that is all for right now. Rabosai, looking very forward to tomorrow, to everyone joining in Be'ezer Hashem for the regular back to the full day schedule of learning. There is going to be a schedule sent out, Derek, that, the new WhatsApp chat, hopefully some emails also. And I know BZ doesn't have WhatsApp. Is that true?
Yeah, I don't.
Okay, so you and I think
So I don't have
the
WhatsApp.
two guys in Shiva that don't have WhatsApp. So we're going to appoint a BZ Gabbai and a Hananya Gabbai to make sure that they get all the messages also sent over. But there's going to be it's a fair question. That's according to what Ruby was asking a question. Sphere is a mice, a sphere, not a dibur, but it's a sphere is done b'dibur. There's not the phrase mice yesterday didn't mean a halachic mice as opposed to a dibur. It just meant it's not an amira, but there's some other goal that's there to the sphere. I'm going to try to explain tomorrow morning at the end of the opening, shmooze, exactly how the schedule is going to work. But there is going to be a schedule, sent out with all the different links, throughout the day that you can just click on there and you can get to whatever it is. So the first thing tomorrow morning, 9:30 New York time, we're all going to be joining together for one big, shmooze, and the link will be there on the schedule that's going to be sent. And Amir Tashem, everything should be great, and then we will go from there. So I'm going to call an end to this particular shir right now. And Be'ezer Hashem, we will be in touch tomorrow morning. Hatzlacha to all. Be well.
Sure, Gabby.
Thank you, Abby.
Well done.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Hey,